Chapter 10 of Benighted by J.B. Priestley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 10. They were still sitting snugly in the back of the car, and now the talk had drifted round to Sir William Porterhouse. Gladys was determined to explain about him, rather to Penderel's alarm, though he admitted to himself that he felt curious.
"Of course I like him," she was saying, "or I wouldn't go away with him. You can depend on that, but I'm just about as much in love with him as I am with old Banks, the doorkeeper at the Alsatia. I'm not going to put on any airs with you. We're through with anything like that, aren't we? And that's funny, too, when you think we've only just met."
"Yes, but we've met in the middle of a black night," he told her, "and that makes the difference. It's too damned lonely putting on airs a night like this, and then there isn't much time."
"How do you mean there isn't much time? There's plenty of time. There always is."
But she was hurt rather than puzzled. He must mean that he wouldn't be seeing her any more after this, and somehow she had expected he would be, quite a lot. "I don't know what I meant," he said, and he didn't, now that he came to think of it. It was just a queer spurt of emotion, feeling all things rushing by them. "I think I must have meant the usual poetical preacher stuff, where like flowers that are fresh in the morning and withered in the evening. You must know the sort of thing."
"Oh, that."
She dismissed these antique fancies with hearty contempt. All the more hearty because she felt suddenly relieved.
"That's only true about looks, when you're bothering about your face and figure. But it's not true about anything else, is it? Everybody I've ever met had more time than they knew what to do with. Even old Bill there, with all his cables and telegrams and private secretaries and rushing about, has more gaps than he knows how to fill. I know that. Those old fellows, they read 'em out in church, don't they? Must have really been beauty specialists."
"Perhaps they were, in a way," he put in reflectively. "But what were you going to say before you began about not putting on any airs?"
"Oh, yes, about me and Bill. Well, it really boils down to this. It's been a convenient arrangement for both of us. As I've said before, I like him, and he's helped me a lot, given me a pretty good time. There's been nothing regular about it, you know. No little flats and all the rest of it. He's just taken me out when he's felt like it, or when I felt like it, and we've had a few weekends away. This is the longest and the farthest. I was down on this one from the start, but he was desperately keen, wanted a day's golf at Harlech. If he was like some of them I've seen and heard of, not gone away with, though, for ever pawing round you and very smarmy, there'd have been nothing doing. But what he really wants, most times anyhow, is just somebody to be with, to talk big to at dinner or late at night. He likes to sit on the edge of a bed, boasting a bit to round off the day. He's lonely, really, for all his talk. He ought to have been married again. His wife died when he was young, and he hasn't forgotten her either. You can guess that pretty soon. I've weighed him up."
"I can see the balance in your hand," said Penderel. "It's terrifying, but go on."
"Now you're making fun of me," she cried. "I shan't tell you any more."
It was queer, Penderel thought, how simple she became as soon as she talked directly to him, almost childish, whereas every time she spoke about anything else, she surprised him. "You must go on. I want to be terrified, and I only wish Porterhouse could hear this. It would open his eyes, though he's by no means a complacent fool about himself, judging from that little anecdote he told at the supper table. Tell me some more about him. Blow the masculine gaff."
"Another thing about him is this. I fancy it's true about a lot of men, too. When he asks me to go out with him or to go away with him, it's not so much that he really wants me there."
She stopped for a moment to think it out.
"What he really wants is not to be wanting somebody, do you see? And that's not the same thing, is it?"
"Not by a thundering long chalk," he told her. "That's all the difference in the world between 'em."
"Well, that's how it is mostly with him. He wants everything, you see, or thinks he does. And if he was by himself, knocking about town, or staying at some swell seaside hotel, and he saw a lot of smart and pretty girls drifting round, he'd be as mad as blazes because he hadn't one. He wouldn't be able to eat his dinner for thinking about it. But if he has one too, there with him, staring him in the face if he cares to look across, it's all right then. And he's got somebody to show off, and somebody to explain himself to and boast to later on. That's where I come in then. You see, he happens to think I'm rather smart and fairly pretty. Probably you don't."
My dear Gladys, I think you're astonishingly pretty. A staggerer. He didn't, though, and it had suddenly occurred to him that he had met quite a number of prettier girls, belonging to his own class, as people still said, who hadn't interested him at all, whereas this girl was most curiously attractive and exciting, like a jolly good music hall, he told himself. Well, whatever it was that drew him, it wasn't the mere look of her, though that was agreeable enough.
You'd have to say that, wouldn't you? Well, I don't think I am very pretty, so there, she said quite earnestly. There's honesty for you.
Why, what's the trouble?
Oh, my face is too broad to begin with, and my nose isn't right. My figure isn't either, not for these days when you ought to be very long and slender, or a kind of boy.
They're all wrong. Don't you worry about them, he remarked easily. I detest these death's head and crossbones women you see everywhere now. He remembered with pleasure her fine sturdiness, now so much neighboring warmth, but he was still wondering what it was that attracted him. All her obvious characteristics, of course, her courage and common sense and jolly impudence floated on a deep rich stream, a Thames itself, of feminine vitality. She made Margaret Waverton seem nothing but a faintly freshened and animated mummy, and the Thames must have come into his mind because in some queer fashion she was mixed up with his feelings about London. It was as if his thought of her danced all the time before a backcloth of the London scene, the roaringly human streets of Cockneydom, of buses and evening papers and oyster bars and tea-shops and barrel organs and music halls. That in itself on such a night might explain it all, but he had a feeling that it didn't. She was asking him if he was listening.
I've been hearing it some time,
she added. Hearing what? He leaned forward a little, then looked at the vague rounded pallor of the face beside him, a mystery and an enchantment in its little darkness of eyes and lips.
Outside, a kind of rushing noise.
I'd almost forgotten there was an outside. I can hear it now, though. It's getting louder.
I should think it is. Sounds as if a river were coming down on us.
She gave a little shiver.
What are you going to do?
He was opening the door of the car. I'm going to see what's happening.
It sounds as if you want something to happen. I believe you do. If you're not careful, you'll make it happen.
There was a trace of real resentment in her tones. He was out now on the floor of the shed, which sloped down towards the entrance. It seemed to be very wet. There was the noise of a great wash of water coming down, and already it seemed to be rushing past outside and creeping up the shed. It was difficult to see, though, because the little lights of the car, which had been backed in at an angle, did not shine his way.
I say, Roger,
Gladys was calling to him. It was queer to hear his Christian name like that, coming out of a dark place in a still unfamiliar voice. He felt as if he had suddenly dropped 15 years and started over again.
If you're going far, wait a minute, she went on, because I'm coming with you.
I'm not going far, he replied. Hardly a step farther. The water was certainly coming into the shed. A flood had been loosed upon them from somewhere. There was the sound of a river roaring past. Look out, he shouted. I'm coming back. A sudden rush of water had swept round the corner like a little tidal wave. In a second it was nearly up to his knees, and the next moment he was climbing into the car again. Look at that, he panted. Water's pouring into the place. She leaned across and looked through the open door while he tried to squeeze the water out of the bottom of his trousers.
Why, she cried, if it gets any higher, it'll be in here soon.
In that case, he grunted, still bending and trying to wring his trousers, you'll have to keep your feet on the cushions. She put out a hand.
But suppose it gets higher and higher. My God, we're simply trapped here.
He straightened himself now, brought his face close to hers, and smiled at her through the deep dusk. We could get out somehow. Besides, it can't rise much. It's bound to run away very quickly. It's rather amusing, don't you think?
Amusing?
He thought he saw her pull a face at him.
I like your idea of amusement.
His fingers touched something smooth and cold. It was the flask. He had forgotten that, too. There's just a spot left, he said, shaking it. You have it.
Don't want it, thanks. Finish it yourself.
Shall I, or shall I keep it for an emergency? Or is this an emergency? Tell me that.
You just said it wasn't, didn't you, Mr. Clever Man? But hurry up and finish it.
She leaned sideways against the cushions, her face turned towards him. I believe I want to go to sleep, she yawned.
I'll be off in a minute.
But inside she didn't feel a bit sleepy, all excited. If you went to sleep, something tremendous would happen, and then you'd miss it. He went rambling on while he slowly unscrewed the flask. You might wake up to find the water an inch from your chin, and trout darting under your arms. Then again, of course, you might wake up to find that you weren't here at all, but crossing Piccadilly Circus to catch the last tube train.
And where would you be?
Nowhere at all. You'd have just dreamt me. You know how people you've only seen once or twice, as you saw me, pop up in your dreams and become quite important. Well, I should be one of them.
I don't want to wake up in Piccadilly Circus, then.
Why? He looked at her above the flask.
Because I like you.
And by rain, by darkness, and by Sir Roderick Phim himself, he cried, I like you too. I feel this is a great and solemn moment. You're sure you don't want any of this whiskey?
Yes, I told you I didn't.
Then it must be put to an even nobler purpose than that of helping to rot my liver.
What are you going to do? Something crazy, I'll bet. I can see it coming.
I'm going to sacrifice it. The last drop too, mind, and I'm coldish, to celebrate this moment. I'll address a few remarks. We won't call it a prayer to the gods, and then I'll pour it out as an offering, a libation. How's this? He sat bolt upright. O gods of light and beauty and happiness, he began in rich, vibrating tones. Crowned with flowers and eternal May, hear the cry that comes from the little world that you have left so long unvisited. Behold two mortals whose hearts were fashioned for your service, but who sit in a darkness within a darkness, homeless, lost, the black water rising round them.
I shall want to weep in a minute, she interrupted. You ought to go on the stage, Roger.
I am on the stage, Gladys. I'm on it all the time, but only wander about trying to remember what my next cue is, and what the play's about, and wondering who the devil can be in the audience. But you've ruined my exhortation now. I'll have to trust to the libation. Here goes. He held out the flask and raised his voice again. Accept this offering, all that we can give, the last drops of our golden spirit. The flask was solemnly emptied into the water just outside the door.
Well, do you feel any better now?
She inquired as he returned to her side. She was smiling at him. He had twisted round so that they were sitting face to face, and now his hands shot out to clasp her arms. Do you know, I believe I do, he cried. I think they had had a glance at us, those gods, I mean, even before I made the libation, and now they may really take notice of us. When I come to think of it, I've felt depressed only once tonight, and that's almost a record.
When was that?
She pressed gently against the hands that were still curved loosely round her arms. Oh, before you arrived, just after we went into the house. I can remember the very moment. I'd been left alone, and suddenly everything went as hollow as hell. Perhaps you don't know the feeling.
Don't I, though? I've had weeks of it, when it's a bother to breathe, let alone get up and wash and do your hair and dress and eat.
And walk about and talk to people or even look at their silly eyes, and then undress and crawl into bed to try and sleep, and after that begin it all over again. I know. Still, I shouldn't have thought you would.
Well, I do,
she said gravely.
Why did you think I didn't?
You seem to have so much life in you. Good red stuff, he replied, considering her. I couldn't imagine anything downing you for more than a minute. I don't believe it does.
Oh, yes, it does.
She nodded her head, round-eyed like a child. Then she laughed.
For that matter, she cried, I shouldn't have thought it of you either. I never met anybody so full of beans. Why, even when you're saying how miserable you are, you seem to be enjoying yourself a lot more than most people are when they think they're really happy for once. Look at Sir Bill there. He wouldn't admit he wasn't ever enjoying himself, but at the top of his form, with a pint or two of champagne tucked away inside him, he's a damn sight more miserable than you are when you talk as if you were nearly dead. So there, Mr. Roger.
Ah, but, and he shook his head, tonight's different. That's what I'm really trying to tell you.
I'd risk every night being different with you. Not that you aren't fed up, of course. It didn't take me long to see that. And then that story of yours. That got over all right with me, I can tell you. But you've no need to sit about thinking it over and over again or doping yourself. You're not really that sort, I know. You're full of fight and fun. I'm a bit like that myself, but not so much as you are, and that's why I like you, or partly why. Only I'm not clever like you, and that makes it easier for me.
I'm just not quite so clever as a 10-year-old retriever, he protested. And that's not modesty either. I don't even want to be clever. I've met some of the clever ones, and they make me sick." She stirred and then moved a little closer to him.
"Why don't you do something?"
"What's this?" he exclaimed softly. "Good advice?"
"Sounds like it, doesn't it? I expect you're thinking it's damn cheek coming from me."
"No, I'm not. It couldn't have come from a better person. I wouldn't have it from anybody else, I believe. But what do you mean exactly?" Before she replied, she slid a hand up the cushion and then rested her cheek against it. He found something curiously moving in that little action, seen vaguely in the gloom of their little covered place. It was one of those things that women carry over from childhood, and now she was beginning to explain herself in that funny little voice of hers, which had been hastily shedding acquired accents and becoming more piquant all the time they had been talking together.
"What I mean is this," she began. "Have a pop at something. Start something fresh. Take a chance again. But try something you haven't tried before. You can call it good advice if you like, and it is for your own good, I'm telling you. But I don't mean you ought to go to night school, or keep hens, or put 5 shillings a week in the post office savings bank. You can work the confidence trick, or run a roulette board if it comes to a pinch, though I can't see you doing anything like that. But the thing is, do something. If you think everything's all wrong about the war and all that, you could at least take a soapbox round and spout at street corners, like the Bolshies or Socialists or whatever they are. Anyhow, do something, and then you won't know yourself."
He had had a glimpse of the essentially feminine point of view. "We're tremendously important as persons," he said to himself, "but they're just detached and amused about all our antics, whether we're running a roulette or weighing the sun. We're still spending half our time, in their eyes, scrambling in and out of the big nursery cupboard." Gladys plainly thought his grand, deep, philosophic pessimism, which she was obviously ready to lump with socialism and relativity and psychoanalysis and fascism and anything else she might have heard about, could be disposed of by talking it out, being only so much steam to be let off. And perhaps it was so much steam to be let off. Perhaps she was wiser than he was. It was all very fascinating, and one thing having this point of view described in books, and quite another thing coming across it like this, suddenly seeing a fantastically colored searchlight flashing out of a familiar sky. Here at his elbow was really another world, and it was soft, warm, and breathing. A person, somebody you could talk and laugh and cry with, not so very different in most things. Indeed, strangely like you. His thought, having raced round this little circle, suddenly stopped.
"And if you're cross now," she was saying, "then you're no sport, and I don't like you."
"I was never less cross," he cried. "The fact is, I'm all excited. Either there's something very heady about a car that's standing still, or throwing that whiskey away has made me drunk." He really did feel oddly exultant all of a sudden. "I think the spell must be working. Life's suddenly changed from being a damned long dusty road into an enormous hamper, and I feel as if I'm trying to lift the lid now. Gladys, I want to give you a colossal hug." Her hands came down in front of her and then fluttered towards him.
"Well," she said calmly, "if that's how you feel, go on."
She was in his arms, and her face was tilted back a few inches away. They kissed. Then her hand was passed over his cheek, and his arms tightened about her, and they kissed again. It was all done very quietly and comfortably, without any of the blind fumbling and straining of a new passion. Yet it had not only meaning but intensity. This intensity, however, like a slant of sunlight, had passed through a mellowing atmosphere of large friendliness. Now, her hands pressing against him, she gently pushed herself away. Penderel drew a long breath. He wasn't bewildered. He wasn't ecstatic. He was suddenly and solidly happy. He felt enormously rich.
"I didn't mean that, you know," she remarked, "when I said you ought to do something."
"That's a pity." "No, it isn't." It was funny. He was cool enough, and yet his voice wasn't. It was hoarse, unsteady. "Well, I will do something now. I'll start this week."
"Listen, Roger," she put a hand on his arm. "Why don't you come to London?"
"I will. As a matter of fact, I'm on my way there now. That sounds damned odd when you think of it."
"You must think I'm rushing it." She was very serious now. "But I can't help it. I feel I must while we're here, and it's quiet, and... oh, I don't know. But listen, will you want to see me again?"
His hands went out, but she caught and held them.
"No, never mind about that now. Tell me honestly and truly, do you?"
"Of course I do," he cried. "What a question! Why, you're the very person I'm going up to see, though I didn't know it when I began this journey. But then I didn't know anything. When do we get there? Anyhow, we'll begin dinner the very first night. That is, if Sir William doesn't object. What about him?"
"Don't be silly. He doesn't matter. He can fade out. He's done that already."
"So he has," he assented. "And it's a comforting thought, but what's this about town?"
"I want to see you, too, and I want to help if you'll start again. I'll do anything, everything."
His mind went blundering after her. "Do you mean—" he began.
"Don't you see what I mean?"
she broke in, with a whispered vehemence.
"I'll do everything. Oh, it sounds crazy, I know. Don't think I'm always like this. I've never been like this before. But the girl from the chorus you've met in the middle of the night is telling you she'll live with you if you want her to, and there you have it. She's gone mad and is flinging herself at you."
"And he's trying to fling himself at her," he cried, clasping her arms. An idea was fermenting in his mind. Why shouldn't they try it together? They'd nothing to lose, at least he hadn't, and everything to gain. It was delightfully crazy, this idea of his, which wasn't identical with hers, much crazier, but he hadn't tested the strength of hers yet. "You're absolutely regal, Gladys. You take my breath away, but listen to me a minute."
"Are you going to tell me you don't want me?" she demanded. "Because you've only to nod, and it'll save you the trouble."
"No, I'm not," he replied hastily. "Something quite different."
"Then I know what it is," she went on, "and I'm going to tell you. You were just going to point out that you hadn't much money and didn't exactly know where you were going to earn any, and that I'd have a damn thin time, weren't you? I knew you were. Well, that doesn't matter. If you really like me enough, we can have some fun together and manage somehow. To begin with, I can get a job. I really have been in the chorus, you know, though lately I've been resting. Though I've not had much from Bill, you needn't think it. He's not keeping me, really, and I can go back to the chorus. If there's nothing doing there, I can easily get a job of some sort. There's a girl I know managing a milliner's who'd get me into the shop, and we'd find a cheap little flat high up, somewhere not too far out, and if you found anything at all to do, we'd manage all right. I know I'd be pretty rotten, and you probably wouldn't be comfortable at first. I can't do much. Something quick and easy on a gas ring is about my limit in cooking. But I'd try, and I'd be happy, so long as you didn't curse me too often. I know what it means, of course. I'm not a kid. Living like that with anybody else but you would be a little hell. But with you it would be all different. There'd be fun and excitement all the time. And we'd go roaming around together and talk about everything, just as we've been doing tonight. And we wouldn't feel lost and lonely any more. I know I'm not the sort of girl you used to think about, like that other one, but I understand. And if you ever got depressed, I'd tease you out of it, and then love you hard. Oh, you must think I'm silly."
A little choked cry, and she had flung her arms round him, and was pressing her face against his. My dear," he found himself saying. He saw the two of them crazily garroting it together somewhere above the bus-tops, laughing or grousing together if nothing came off, jubilant over the occasional windfalls, rushing one another into life. He was holding her close now, was protective, soothing, yet all the time he had a dim feeling that it was he who was finding comfort, sustenance itself, in this happy weight in his arms. Here was the way back into things, but he wouldn't sneak up to share her attic. His own idea, mad as it seemed, was better than that. They'd get married, risk it all, and then plunge in together. No doubt people were right. He'd wanted the moon. Now he'd start it again and simply want cheese. And perhaps in the end he'd find that the moon was made of cheese after all. He put a hand on her hair and gently tilted back her face so that he could kiss her again. "It's a great idea, Gladys," he told her, "and you're wonderful, and we'll make it all happen. Only my idea improves on yours, though you'll probably think it crazy."
"Tell me," she whispered. "What is it?"
"Let's go back first, and then I will." She must hear it back in the house, with other people not far away, where she could test it. Anything was plausible here in this tiny odd world they seemed to have created for themselves. "We've been too long away as it is. We'll go back now."
No, you want to leave me."
He felt her body stiffen in his arms. "I don't. Not ever. But we must see what the others are doing. They're probably asleep." He couldn't help feeling that they weren't, though.
"Then we'll talk it all out. I've a special reason for wanting to finish it off there." "All right."
She drew back, but kept her eyes fixed on his. Then, after a pause, she went on.
"But are you sure?"
The question died away. Her voice was dubious. Her stare was dubious, somber. He was instantly visited by a curious mixed feeling of alarm and shame. It had occurred to her that she really knew nothing about him, and he knew nothing about her. They were strangers, staring through the dusk at one another. Voices, questioning eyes, the electric contact of flesh, and you seemed to know everything. A turn of the wheel, a click, and you knew nothing. The old despair returned. He was trapped again. Without thinking what he was doing, he took hold of her hand, and the next moment it had given him a warm, hard squeeze. At the same time a thought arrived, just as if it had been squeezed into him. "Why?" he cried aloud. "It's all bosh."
"What?"
She withdrew her hand instantly.
"What do you mean?"
"Sorry, I didn't mean about us, you know, though we come into it. I'd been thinking and had just made a discovery." She regarded him indulgently.
"You'd better get it off your chest, hadn't you? Go on, I'm listening."
"We'll get on a romantic switchback. Up and down all the time." He was talking to himself rather than to her. "First we can know everything and it's wonderful. Then we can know nothing and it's all rotten. Just as if there wasn't a way in between. There always is, all the time, and we're simply too damn proud and lazy and egotistical to find it and go down it. The thing we won't bother with is just plain common sense. It frightens us. It makes us seem less important. Why, after all, Gladys, I know you."
"Do you, though?"
she interrupted.
"That's what I've just been wondering about. You don't really, do you? I don't really know you, though I seem to better than anybody. That's funny, isn't it?"
She was very eager, excited. "Yes, I do," he replied sturdily. "I don't know all about you, but I feel I know a devil of a lot. If I've made it up, I've made it up, and that's that. But I can go on learning. There's a truth to come out." He was excited himself now, and sat up as if to proclaim his discovery to the world. He felt as if he had turned a corner. "That's what we really don't want to believe, that there's a truth to come out. We don't want to sit tight, wait, and learn anything. We pretend we're above sensible compromise, when all the time we're below it. All this disillusions, egotistical bunkum."
"I dare say it is, though I don't know what you mean. I never knew anybody who went on such a rate. And who are you talking about with your 'we pretend this and we do that'?"
She wasn't eager now, but amused and worshipping, as if he had just done something rather clever with a box of bricks.
"Now, who do you mean?"
"Oh, people like me, I suppose. Gloomy young asses," he told her. "I speak," he added with mock pompousness, "for my own generation, though whether you are a member of that generation or not, my dear Gladys, I am not prepared to say."
"You're prepared to say anything, if you ask me."
She leaned forward.
"And you're a funny boy, and I don't know why I'm bothering myself about you."
Her cheek was lightly brushed across his, and a hand passed over his head. "That was benediction," he said. "Now we must go. We'll begin again, never to end, in the house. Ready?" He rose from the seat and discovered that his feet were very cold and his legs were cramped.
"No, Roger, no."
She was holding his arm.
"Don't let's go back there. Let's stay here."
He turned to stare at her. "Why, what's the matter? We can finish the night comfortably there. It may be queerish, but at least there's a fire. Why don't you want to go?"
"Because there's something... Oh, I don't know. I'm silly, I suppose. Perhaps it's just because I don't want to leave this funny little place. I'd almost forgotten it's the back seat of a car. If you've been happy in a place, no matter what it's like, you don't want to leave it, do you? It's a risk moving on, isn't it? I expect that's it."
But she sounded very doubtful. He switched off the small lights of the car, found the torch, and stepped out into about a foot of water. "We shall have to wade back," he told her, flashing the light inside. "I wonder if I could carry you."
"No, you couldn't," she replied. "I'm an awful weight."
Nevertheless, he swooped upon her just as she was getting out, and went splashing forward with her in his arms, contriving at the same time to send the light of the torch before them. That tiny fantastic journey was for both of them like the mingling of a nightmare in which all familiar things suddenly lost their identity, crawling into nothingness, or taking on shapes of terror, and one of those clear dreams in which the enchanted heart recognizes and claims its most secret desires, as if they were children long lost. Here the dream, their sense of one another, their nearness and warmth, threaded through the nightmare made up of the sight of that obliterating black water, the air that seemed like hanging crepe, the corners of the house that gleamed sharply in the light of his torch like naked bone, and a fear swelling beyond sensible dimensions lest his foot should slip and they should fall. More than once she protested, but he would not put her down, and twice he had to rest, leaning heavily against the wall of the house with one arm still holding her tight. Wet and aching, he was staggering now past a lighted window. The door could not be far away. Gladys threw out a hand, found the wall, and steadied them both, wondering all the while at his odd determination to indulge his whim at any cost. She found herself slipping down out of his arms, and her feet touched the highest of the 3 steps. He came scrambling up after her, sank back against the side of the door, and fought for his breath. And now, for the second time that night, he had his hand upon the knocker. End of chapter 10.